Okay, everyone. Thanks for coming this afternoon. We all just had a great lunch. Yeah, good. I did too. I went around twice. It's great. Okay, so today we're going to talk about gadgets, workflow, and code. Basically, I'm going to show you funky things you can do with things like robots and circuit boards, with boring things like workflows and things. If everything works. So, I'm Simon. I am a technical specialist at K2. So it's my job to do a lot of proof of concepts, demos, talks and things, and come up with an innovative way to show K2 in different ways. So what I like to do really is start off with telling you a story. And it's a true story, and it's something that's going to mean a lot to all of you. We're all connected. Each one of you right now is talking to these things now. And these are all smartphones, PCs and tablets, because we've all got smartphones, haven't we? And tablets and PCs. And what we find is that the information we're getting are things like SMS messaging, Yammer, Twitter, CRM, basically all the social data, business data we're all constantly talking to at the moment. But that is also changing now, because this whole idea of connected devices. And by that I mean things like fitness trackers, proximity sensors, smartwatches, even cars, robots, microcontrollers and lights. These all tangible objects are now becoming connected to the internet, and then we can access them via phones, tablets and smartphones. And the way I like to look at this is, they're probably recorded.
The Force is what gives the Jedi his power.
It's Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan
It's an
Kenobi.
energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us, penetrates us, it binds the galaxy together.
So the Force, data. It's in everything that we do now in the modern world. It's, like I said, it's in our cars, watches and everything. So I thought it's a nice little way of just showing what I think data is. So this means that we have a lot of data we can have access to. So what do we do with it? Well, what we could do is we could have a look into the future now and see where it leads to.
A road diverges in the desert. Lexus. The road you're on, John Anderton, is the one less traveled.
Hello, Mr. Yakamoto. Welcome back to the Gap. How does assorted tank tops work out for you?
We're really not that far off this sort of thing where we can walk around a building, say Gap, and it would tell us by what things we want. And we can do that with things like iBeacons. We have a phone in our pocket, our phone knows who we are, iBeacons around this place, and then this phone picks up these iBeacons and it automatically then tells us things about the products that we're in. So this whole idea of Minority Report, where going around the shops using their eyes, we're really not that far off from that, except we're using iBeacon instead of our eyes, obviously. But this idea of connected data. So where do we start with all this data? Well, we start with all the things that's important to you. So you start with like your healthcare, or your coffee machine, things like that. For businesses, obviously, want more business-related data. So we could have ovens in a supermarket. The ovens have a temperature sensor on, and when the certain temperature either drops or changes by a certain business key mark, it can then send off a message to a tablet somewhere, or a phone or a text message to say, hey, there's a problem with the ovens, please go and check. But also, you can, more importantly, we can go and check to see if our chickens are okay, so we can eat them. And we can do this sort of thing now with workflows and a combination of tools. So this is where K2 comes in. K2 is a portal, a platform that allows us to build business apps. We give a forms technology, We've also got a workflow tool, which is what we're going to look at today. And also we've got this data tool as well. And the data tool is probably the most important bit, because this allows us to talk to virtually any data source you can think of. So whether it be an iBeacon, a robot, a circuit board, smartwatch, a temperature sensor, we can then access that API and then we can then integrate it into our workflows. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you a demo of using the same technology but with this robot down here. And all I'm going to do is just send him back and forth. But we have, if depending on the bandwidth, we can actually get him to move around the room as well, or by itself. Okay, so the way the K2 works is that we've got this ability to talk to, say, endpoint assemblies, so basically class libraries. And what I have here is a class library that's talking to the API of the Lego robot. All we do is basically make some public static methods. And I can give you all this API to play with like afterwards, if you like. We then, that looks great, doesn't it? We then have this tool that allows us to look at these assemblies. So here is the point to my DLL. And basically all we do is just point to the DLL, and what this part of program does, it then goes off and it exposes all of these public methods that we have. So I've got public methods that go and they can turn left, they can turn right. I can go and get some sensor data and make it play sounds and so on. You can even expose the events if certain things happen. And then what it does is allows us to build a very simple form. I can then go and type in the IP address of the robot. Just connect it up. We can do things like set the speed, and then we can make them go forward. We can go back, and you just want to go left at the moment. But you get the idea. And at the same time as well, the sensor information there is going back and it's being stored in a SQL database. And then we can then use that information to do things. We can even take these same commands, like forward, left, back, and right, and put those into a workflow as well, and then have the workflow actually move him around by himself. The next thing I would like to show you is this circuit board here. And what we have here is very simple circuit board. We have an LED light. We have a button, and what we have here is a cat controller. So this is now going off up, connected to the internet. Now a little bit to provide us with a REST API. So I just go back here. And you can see here's K2 sensor. If I press this button now, you see the light starts to flash. No? So I know that it's working. If I press the button on the board, shit. Love the internet, it's great, isn't it? Anyway, Eventually it probably will come back. But the idea is that we can actually now talk to this. So it's connected to the screen. But anyway, just being a bit slow. So what I need to do is a couple of things first. First thing I've got is I have got a web API handler here. That's going to basically look for the response form when I press the button on the board. And then all it does here is I am calling a workflow. My workflow looks very simple like this. So what happens is when I click on the button over there, it then sends a message to the K2 server. The K2 server then starts its workflow. So we come down here. It's then going to send me a text message to say, hey, a button's been pressed. And it's then going to give me a task to do. I then got the ability to approve that task and decline that task. If I approve it, it's going to make that LED blink, which I'll come to the code in a minute. And then it's going to send me another task to say, hey, lights blinked. Pretty simple. And if I decline it, it's going to send a SMS message to say, hey, we've been declined. Very simple demo, but the idea is it could be a temperature sensor, it could be a fan, it could be something. So you could have a meeting room, booking a meeting, and you want those lights to turn on at a certain time. Then you could connect that up to like a Philips Lumina light system or something, and have a workflow control those. I then have the actual code itself. So because it's REST, I need to do my authentication. So I have my tokens here and the device ID. And I've also got to pass in as well the URL of where the response needs to be sent back to. Because KT talks to public static methods, and I've got some methods I can talk to. I've got a very simple one called blink me. And all I'm doing in here is doing a very simple loop around and telling it to activate the LED, then to hold it, deactivate the LED, and then go through the loop again. Very simple. And to create a subscription so it gets to monitor it, I've also got, I'm just calling the REST service here as well. Like with the robot, just build that, and all I do is go and register. And then put in the full URL of that DLL. So it's just going at that. Put that in there. Say next. Give it a name, we can call this DevWeek. Stop there. And add. So what this has done now, it's gone off and looked at that DLL for me. And it's now gone exposed all those methods for me. And now I can start using those in my workflow. Okay. Doesn't have to be a little bit, it could be anything that's got an API, .NET API or a REST service. You can then use a class library and build something around that. Okay? And then expose it to K2. When we've got those, we can then go off and tell K2 about them. So for K2 to interact with these, then we have something called a smart object. And this is what I did earlier. I'm going to go and find that. And all I've done is just called all these methods in here, my blink LED, monitor, and stop monitoring, and called it a little bit. I can then go into my process. I can then go and get an event, like a smart object event, and drop that in. I can expose. Get that smart object, and go and get a method, like blink LED. Next, and finish. If that method had parameters, then I can also interact with those as well and put their data in there. Okay. If I wanted to as well, let's go and with K2 we also allow you to actually write custom code inside the workflow. And again, you can go in there and we can call it method directly as well. Okay. When we're happy with that, we can deploy it. And finish. We can test this by clicking on the blink LED button here, and you can see it's lighting up. Also, we can have a whole row of them, have a little disco. So we know that it works, all fine. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go click on this button and hopefully it will work. This will then generate a task for us, and then we can then show you the task. So I'll just click on this a moment. We can load up our task list that comes with our workflow tool. There's my task. So it's being pressed. If I now action this, there we go, it's blinking, okay? And I should also, at some point, get a text message as well. So that's a very, very, very simple demo of looking at how to use these sort of things, technologies. We can also, now you can see my text message now saying it's been sent. The other things we can do with things like text messaging services as well is we've also got the ability as well to be able to send a text message and K2 be able to pick that up and then say start a process based on that or action a task via text message as well. So with the APIs that are out there and these connected devices, you can get K2 to talk to a vast variety of different things. Okay. Any questions about that brief demo? If you do want to be able to play with this API, I'll put the links up here so you can actually download them. Have a go. If you want to do that, the little bit thing, it's called little bit cloud bit controller, and that allows you then to be able to talk to the little bit thing. And the Lego robot is a Mindstorms EB3. Okay.
Can't download that.
You can't. Damn. Why not? If you come and see me at the booth, and you've got a USB stick, I'll give it to you on a USB stick. It's the same with the robot too. Yeah, I can do it. Okay. It's the Mindstorms EB3, you get them on Amazon and things, and the same with that. Okay. Also, in theme with this whole idea of connected devices, our competition at the booth is also related to connected. Yeah, so Scalatrix meets Mario Kart. It's basically the cars all have its own API and AI intelligence. So you have to play Scalatrix by yourself, and the other car just drives around by itself as well and try and takes around things. But it has a whole REST service as well, so you can actually start making stuff for that too. So you can either come to the booth and sign up for that competition, or you can just go to k2session.com and fill in the details, and we'll be doing a draw tomorrow afternoon. Okay. If you would like to sign up for a trial of K2, then you can go to the k2.com website, and you can sign up there too. Okay. Do you have any questions at all? Yeah.
Just related to interconnected devices and things in general. Obviously, I guess one of the main concerns of this is privacy and security. I remember hearing a story about a trash can or something somewhere in London that was remembering phones that were walking by it. And it wasn't doing anything with it, it's solving anonymously, but people got really upset because they were being tracked.
Okay.
And obviously there's stories about people hacking into baby monitors or something and shouting to babies or something. Just wondering what your thoughts were on where the future's going in privacy and security and things like that.
I think it's going to be hard. I suppose the laws and things will change, because like you say, if it gets to the extent where it's taking our eyes and things to scan things, then yes, our eyes and data and things like that, retina scan things, is out there. So I think either our own personal views have to change and say, hey, it's only my eye, whatever, or there'll be some laws around that things. I mean, if you like the Apple Pay and the watches, in fact, they're going to have your heartbeat and things to be able to take the payment. I mean, I suppose as long as that stays locally on your device and not being sent off into the cloud somewhere, and that'd be okay. I mean, why someone would want my heartbeat, I don't know. But, yeah, we'll have to see what happens, I suppose. But I think it's probably a very grey area at the moment. And so we'll later on. Any other questions at all? No. I was a lot shorter than I planned, sorry. But thanks guys, thanks for coming. I hope it was at least a bit informative. And a break from lunch as well. But